My bench boost is active ahead of double game week 33, and in today's video I'm going to discuss why I think activating some sort of chip is pretty essential for FPL managers, my current transfer plans, and of course the best players to buy ahead of this double game week. So as always, if you look forward to it, make sure to drop a like and of course hit that subscribe button for daily fantasy content. Enough waffling, let's get into today's video. So first up, a quick recap on how game week 32 is going so far, because of course it is a small double game week with Palace playing up against Newcastle on the Wednesday night, in which I have 6 players still left to play: the 3 Palace, Munoz, Sarr and Mateta, and the 3 Newcastle in Livramento, Murphy and Alexander Isak. But it's been an okay game week so far, 52 points, currently on a green arrow from about 88k to 81. And my triple captain is active on Isak. So I would like to think with these fixtures left to play, it will mean slightly more of a green arrow. If I can get to 75k, I will be more than happy with that considering the last couple of game weeks. So really, an okay week, 52. Could have got better if I played Concert instead of Vardy, but I'm glad I played Martinez over Ray. I discussed that in the previous videos on why I was bullish on the Aston Villa clean sheet. Palmer disappointed once again with just that assist, and thankfully Salah didn't go off because of course his effective ownership was over 100%, so that really would have hurt my rank if he did explode Marmoush with a 7-pointer. But 52 points overall. I wanted to just highlight that because it's important to say I rolled my transfer going into game week 33, so I now have 3 free transfers available. Let me know in the comments how many points have you scored so far, but let's take a look importantly now at double game week 33. So as I mentioned, game week 33 is a double game week, and considering it is one of those normal seasons this year, we don't have any crazy stuff going on like COVID and all. 4 teams doubling in the shape of Man City, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace and Arsenal is deemed a normal double game week. Don't get used to the ones where we've had 8, 9 teams doubling. So take a look at my current team right now. Of course, it is really important to get yourself invested in those teams that have double game weeks. We've currently got both goalkeepers doubling in Raya away against Ipswich and at home against Palace, which I think is great. And we got Martinez with the double. Yes, it isn't a favourable double, but regardless, a goalkeeper doubling is perfectly fine. In terms of my defenders, we've got Munoz, Vardy and Konsa all doubling. And again, some of these fixtures are favourable, some aren't. Then we got Gabriel doubling on the bench, but of course he is out for the season, so we can't consider him. And Livramento away against Aston Villa in a single game week. In terms of the midfielders, we got Savinho with a double, and even though I like the fixtures of Man City offensively, I am really struggling to pinpoint these minutes for Savinho, and I am slightly concerned that he might even just get 30 or 40 minutes combined over this double game week. Sarr with the double, Palmer and Salah with singles, and Jacob Murphy as well with the single game week. And then finally, we have got the front 3 with Mateta and Marmoush with the double and Isak away against Villa as part of his single game week. So as I discussed, I've got 3 free transfers available, and I always pinpointed game week 33 as the week to use my bench boost. Now, later on in the season in game week 36, we are anticipating a potential double game week as well. But because we don't know who is going to double in 36 until after the FA Cup results, if you don't have a wildcard available, it could be very difficult to build a team if the likes of Tottenham have that double game week and pivoting your team towards that. So I think with my team, even though we have got players that I don't think are going to play both, fixtures that are not ideal, it just makes a lot of sense to get my bench boost active in game week 33, roll the dice and hope that I get lucky with those minutes. However, there are problems in this team. Importantly, if I am going to bench boost, I need to have 15 players, and having someone like Gabriel out for the season, not ideal. So Gabriel absolutely will be sold this game week as part of one of my 3 free transfers. Outside of that, it's going to be a case of where can I get the real upside from selling certain players. And unfortunately, Cole Palmer is going to be one of those players that is going to leave my team. So I'm going to be looking to sell Cole Palmer alongside Gabriel. And the third and final transfer, because ideally I wouldn't want to take a -4, is going to include getting rid of one of those single game weekers as well. That is in the shape of maybe Newcastle's Livramento or Jacob Murphy, and pivoting towards, again, maybe a team that doubles. So let's take a look at some of the top transfers for my team right now. But as you can see, with the team I have, Personally, I think a bench boost is wise in game week 33. So who are the best Cole Palmer replacements? Firstly, I want to say, as somebody who wildcarded in game week 30 and went for Palmer rather than Saka, I was of the opinion that I was going to bring in Bukayo Saka in double game week 33, but I felt like Palmer's minutes would be better than that of Saka's over those first 3 game weeks, which they definitely were, and I felt like the returns would be better, and they were by about 1 point. So unfortunately, the Cole Palmer experiment didn't work. Yes, it would have been easy just to go to Saka, but I did think that Palmer was just a better asset over those 3 game weeks. We move on. So as I mentioned, Cole Palmer for me just isn't worth keeping at all. Now, the 3 options that we have available to us, and I'm going to put these just as general considerations as well, are going to be Bryan Mbeumo, a player that won't double, and we got the fixtures down here courtesy of FPL.team in collaboration with Planet FPL. Now, game week 33 we know is a double game week for both Arsenal and Man City. Brentford play at home against Brighton. Game week 34 is massive and something that we need to consider because it is a blank game week for Arsenal and Man City alongside Palace and Aston Villa. So for those that don't know, if you are invested in those teams that double in game week 33, you are then causing yourself inadvertently a problem in game week 34 because those teams all blank. So you need to make sure if you're buying in 33, you know how you're going to get through game week 34. If you have a free hit, don't worry about it. So then in game week 34, we have a blank. 35 is a single game week, and 36 is potentially a double game week. Now, Arsenal and Brentford can't double in 36, but if Man City progress to the FA Cup final, which I think we probably, on a bookies odds perspective, would say they will, could then double with Southampton away and Bournemouth at home, which is fantastic. So when I'm looking at Cole Palmer replacements right now, I want to attack the here and now, and that is going to be the double in game week 33. Now, of course, Arsenal still have this midweek, the second leg against Real Madrid, so anything can happen between now and then. Not ideal preparation for the away game against Ipswich, but Arsenal don't have FA Cup involvement, which is important to note. So once they get through the Champions League game, then we deal with the semi-final once we get there. I don't think game week 33 is going to be massively impacted for Saka. I expect him to get significant minutes in both. Mbeumo will always play every single minute, and of course he plays in 34. De Bruyne, with his double game week, the only problem with De Bruyne, of course, is that they have the semi-final of the FA Cup a few days later after the Aston Villa game. So right now in terms of considerations, I think even though Mbeumo is really, really interesting, and I do think he is going to be on everybody's radar, I think we've got to attack the double game week. So I'm going to rule him out personally, but I can see him being a game week 35 purchase for a lot of managers out there. So it comes down to Saka versus De Bruyne. Now, in my case, I have an issue because I already have triple Man City. So in order to get to Kevin De Bruyne, who is an amazing differential, by the way, who's confirmed he's playing without pain for the first time in ages, I would have to sell Savinho to then pivot towards De Bruyne, which is not ideal. And then I would obviously have to sell Palmer to De Bruyne, Savinho down to a cheaper alternative. Do I think that is worth it? Personally, no. When I have somebody like Bukayo Saka available, who I know's minutes over the foreseeable future is going to be better than that of Kevin De Bruyne's, I think it doesn't make any sense for me to go De Bruyne. While I have the money available, just get it done. Bring in someone like Saka, who also importantly is a captaincy option. With the history of Kevin De Bruyne injuries, do I see him playing Everton, Aston Villa, and then the FA Cup semi-final a few days later? Personally, I think the answer is no. I think we get one of the doubles and that's it. I think we get significant minutes for Saka over this double. So for that reason, I think it's a no-brainer for my team that Bukayo Saka is going to be the Cole Palmer replacement. So with Palmer to Saka basically confirmed, unless we get an injury from Saka midweek or some sort of risk of minutes against the Ipswich game, that player is locked in. So I only have 2 free transfers left. And as I discussed, I'm looking to sell Gabriel and then I'm looking to possibly get rid of Jacob Murphy to capitalise on those Aston Villa attackers, as I'm already doubled down on Konsa and of course on Martinez. So 3 players that are currently on my watch list are going to include Arsenal's Kivior at 4.8 million, and then the Aston Villa duo of Rodgers at 5.6 and Rashford at 6.7. And I wanted to just give you a bit of an understanding on why I'm considering these players. So first up, Kivior. Since the Gabriel injury, he's been the one that's came into the team and he has kept his place. Played against Real Madrid in the first leg. We'll understand whether he plays in the second leg, and personally I think he will. I don't see him getting displaced in this team if he does play that Real Madrid game. I think if we make the argument that, yes, he might play the Real Madrid game, but he still might be at risk, then you could say the same as Saliba at some point. And I want to understand right now whether Kivior is as good for minutes as Saliba, because if he is, I see no reason why I would do Gabriel to Saliba and spend an additional 1.7, 1.8 million when I can grab an Arsenal centre-back at 4.8 million. So I'm going to monitor the Champions League game, and the same's going to apply for Aston Villa players. Don't be buying any of these until they've played this second leg in case we see any sort of injury or any sort of hints of what that Game Week 33 team might look involved. But for me, if I can buy Kivior, I want to save the money on Saliba. Now, we've had direct quotes from Emery stating that Marcus Rashford is kind of in competition with Watkins. They want to play both together, but he said that with John Duran and Watkins, and it never really came to fruition. So I think we're looking at Rashford as more of a centre forward than that of a left winger in this Villa team, which is not ideal when we're looking to invest in either, because Rashford's great, Watkins is great, and if they're both going to play either 60 or 30, very difficult to justify buying. The problem is, Rodgers has always been that player that has been the safe and steady pick, and has got a bit of a bad reputation because when we look at his returns, they're ridiculous, and he's been one of the best value players in the game. But as somebody who's trying to still try and chase rank, obviously Rashford is more of a temptation than that of Morgan Rodgers. He's kind of like the Ford Fiesta. Rashford is more of the Ferrari in this situation, and you always want to buy the Ferrari. But in this scenario, I got to look at guaranteed minutes with a double game week, and if they get the double in 36, I want that player for the double there. And really, the only one that I can guarantee those minutes is going to be Morgan Rodgers. He's basically indestructible by now. He played game week 32 significant minutes. I can guarantee you he'll play significant minutes against PSG. But now, even if he plays 90, I'd probably still consider he's going to play basically full minutes in both of these doubles. So I think as of now, Rodgers is my choice over Marcus Rashford. And if I'm going to go Rodgers over Rashford, it does allow me to go Saliba as opposed to Kivior because I've got the funds available. But I still feel like if Kivior is a guaranteed starter, and let me know in the comment section, it just makes no sense to go to Saliba. I might as well save the money on Kivior. Last point, got to consider that Aston Villa semi-final in the FA Cup 4 days after the City game. I think there's going to be mass rotation in that City game in preparation, so just be cautious of that one. So I've spoken a lot about players to buy, players to sell, how my team's looking. So let's just take a quick look at how my team could look for game week 33 and over the next few weeks. So as I discussed, I just think a bench boost in 33 makes sense for my team. I've spoken about the problems. I think that Crystal Palace away game against Arsenal is going to be rotation central because of the FA Cup semi-final a few days later. Same is going to apply for Aston Villa to some extent, I believe. So this could be an absolute car crash of a bench boost. But while I have the players available, I think it is just a no-brainer for me to get it done. So right now, my transfer plans with 3 available is going to include selling Cole Palmer to bring in Bukayo Saka, which will give me another double game week, which I think is really important. And if we are of the opinion that Gabriel is going to get guaranteed, Kivior is going to get guaranteed game time in this team, I feel like I want to save the money. So doing Gabriel to Kivior will also give me a piece of that Arsenal double defence with Raya. Now I got 1 free transfer available. And as you can see with the rest of the team, I think it looks perfectly fine. And the players that have single game weeks, I believe, are going to get decent game time. I think Livramento, Murphy, Salah, Isak will all play significant minutes. There's no world that I'm going to be selling Alexander Isak. I just think that away game against Villa, with lots of fixtures for them, could be a goal fest possibly. So I don't want to sell one of the best players in the game. So really it is a shootout between Livramento and Jacob Murphy. And I just feel like I want to chase the upside of that of Aston Villa. So Jacob Murphy out, and with 7.3 million available, I could easily go to any Aston Villa midfielder, and things might happen after this PSG game to change my mind, but I just think I don't need to overthink it at times. Yes, he is the cheapest. Yes, he is the safe pick, but Morgan Rodgers coming in, I just think is a no-brainer. So my team would look like this for game week 33. Bench boost would be active, but as I stated, I think Savinho's a huge minutes risk. I think there's rotation in that Palace second part, but all in all, I'd be content with it. We'll talk about captaincy later on in the week, but if I had to go for somebody, it probably would be Bukayo Saka. Now, I just wanted to show you game week 34 because If you have a team similar to mine in 33, but you don't have a free hit available, this is what your team would look like. Absolute disaster. You literally have Isak, Livramento and Salah. Now, of course, with my strategy, I will be free hitting in 34, so I will field a team. But you've got to be cautious of 34. If your team looks like this and you don't have any other chips, do not be piling in on those double game week 33 teams. Now, coming into game week 35, of course, this is when my team would look back to the default of game week 33. I don't know how this team would field. Most likely, I would try and capitalise on Arsenal's game, but I don't want to look too far in the future. What I do know is that I would only have one free transfer because, of course, I would free hit in game week 34. But I think the 35 fixtures are actually not incredible. And with Southampton playing up against Leicester, Operation Target Leicester and Southampton isn't really a thing in game week 35. So I like the idea of trying to roll my transfer in game week 35, knowing that we will have some sort of double game week to prepare ourselves for in game week 36. So that is the plan right now. Coming back to game week 33, this is most likely what my team will look like, but of course I'll update you during the week. Yes guys, okay, that's going to wrap up today's video looking at my game week 33 transfer plans. As discussed, try and avoid making transfers until after these Champions League games because so much can happen between now and then. As always, if you enjoyed it, drop a like on the video, hit that subscribe button. Any questions, pop them in the comment section, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Cheers.